Hey, Eric here with 30x40 Design Workshop. I hope this finds you well. A lot's changed since the last time I uploaded a video, and it would be kind of hard to ignore that. I'm continuing to work on the Outpost project. I just finished the latest round of exterior elevations, sent it off to the client, and over the weekend, they had some feedback for me. I want to make some design modifications, and I thought I'd use this as an opportunity to show you how I work remotely with clients. These clients live far away from me, like most of my clients, and so we don't get the chance to meet face-to-face very often at all. So most of our work and design revisions and iterations all happens remotely. So with the change in everyone's work situation, I thought I'd use this as an opportunity to share with you my process for not only how I make the design changes and tweaks, but how I roll it up and present it, and then how we work through those iterations, the back and forth process. So hopefully this will help you as you adjust to a different working environment. So this process is representative of the entire design process that we go through. Everything will always start off with just a rough sketch of an idea, and then we have to figure out how to take that idea and turn it into a form that's digestible by the client, something they can understand and react to. And that is not always a two-dimensional drawing, an orthogonal drawing, but that's pretty much where I always start. Now we're jumping into the middle of the process here. I've already sent them a package and they've replied to that with a number of requests. I'm gonna focus in on two. So the starting point for this design modification exercise here is twofold. One, they wanted to minimize the number of steps between where they arrive with their car and the front door. Second request was to consider some sort of cover over the entry. This request came with a suggestion to maybe mimic or repeat some of the shed roof forms. So this is our launching point. What I'm proposing to do is actually eliminate this stair altogether, and I thought it would be interesting if, because the parking area is over here, it would be great if we could circulate through this beautiful glade of trees. So this is a lot of smaller trees here, and then there are a couple of breaks in the ledge. So we're parking over here. It'd be great if this trail sort of meandered up this way and that we didn't circulate along the southern flank of the barn and then up a set of stairs here. So what I'm proposing is, what if this deck really just becomes this linear element like this, and it's circulation, it's entry deck, and if this is our main entry space, and this entry really is, this is all glazed. So as you come in, you're presented with this sweeping view out to the water here. So what if this porch becomes an extension of this flat roof? So we have a flat roof here and it just comes out here. And what if this is just a screened wall at this edge? Open framing, wood slats. So it feels like a contemporary porch element. And what if this is a spot that we can store firewood along this edge? And instead of circulating over here, really we're discovering the house through this glade of trees. And then the house starts sort of unfolding and spilling down the hill from there. So it's one thing to have this as an idea, sketch it out, understand how it might impact the elevations. And let's just for a moment, sketch how that might look on the elevations. So this is the entry facade here. This is the west facing facade, and this is the stairway coming up. And you can see this is a very tall wall as it stands right now. So let's just say this is about 9 feet here, and it's about 15.5 feet at the top of this. Here's our front door. Well, we already have this flat roof element. So this suggests to me that, if we pull this flat roof element out and this becomes our porch roof, but don't put a wall on this side. Keep it so that this slot of space sort of slips through here. This really starts to control and anchor that experience, but it also reframes you back to the garage element, or the barn element, which is sitting right over here, this end. So you get this sort of multiplicity of experience. And then, I would make this almost like barn planks, like wood planks. And at this edge, I would just take some boulders, some of these natural granite boulders that are on site, and create this naturalized edge over here. plant some ferns in here and some blueberry bushes so that this really feels like it's sort of slipping down the hillside. And then the experience of arrival, what used to be sort of looking at the underside of this pier structure, now it's discovered by arriving up high. So you climb this glade, and I could see as part of that pathway that we set these flush cedar beams to direct that experience. So you oftentimes see these in trails, especially around here in Acadia National Park. They're set flush with grade, and they're meant to direct water away from the trail. But you know, I could see setting two side by side like this, if this is the plan, and you step up, and then the trail between here and there is a gentle slope. So let's say it's a 6-inch slope. There's a 6-inch step and a 6-inch slope. Then you sort of come around here and you're discovering the house via this glade of trees here. So it starts to reinforce the concept of the building a little better. So I actually really like this. I think this is a really positive change. So the real question then becomes, is this really the best way to show this to the client? And this is one way of showing it for sure. But I think the better way is in model, and that's what we have here. This is the previous version that I sent to the client. I'm just gonna start modifying this. We'll turn off the exterior stairs. It always helps to keep things in groups. I'm just gonna move this deck assembly over, and then we're going to start by creating this flat roof assembly. And I don't know exactly how big I want it to be, so we'll just make an assumption here for now, and then we can modify it later. So I'm drawing a rectangle here on a separate layer, and I just group it in the shortcut G, and I want this roof to align with the edge of this deck. Let's use our alignment tools. So we've extended the deck out. We've made the new roof piece. Now we're gonna make the screen element. So I'm just gonna start by creating a base plate here. We'll make it 5.5 inch wide. So this will be a 2x6 dimension. Okay, so there's our base plate. And I'm just gonna copy this up, hold down the Option key, copy it vertically. Okay, so I don't know exactly how far I want this screen wall to come over, although I know I don't want it to align with the door. And so we're gonna have to play some compositional games there, but this is just to show you how quickly we can lay this out. So now I'm just gonna draw the studs. So everything that I draw, I'm just gonna select the face and then group it. So then I will just push and pull this face. So I've got my vertical stud here, and I want these to be at 16 inches on center. So all I'm gonna do is hold down the Option key, and I'll type in 16, and then I want 6 of those in total, so I type X6. So that gives us all the studs we need. Let's see if we can copy one of these planks over. Okay, got that. So this plank is probably gonna be too large. You can either push and pull this face, or you can scale it. You'll grab that center, that edge. Hold the Option key. We're gonna drag it up 6 inches times 14. So there we go. Okay, now to get some materials on this, literally for this model, I'm totally cheating and faking the shingle coursing. So that's a 5-inch shingle course, and I'm just drawing a line on this face within the group. Just literally treating this like a line drawing. Okay, so I can see this proportion in width. I want this panel to match that. So all I'm gonna do is since this is a group, I'm just gonna scale this over. Okay, the last thing we wanna do is add some entourage. So we'll just add a little firewood grouping there. I just searched for split firewood in 3D Warehouse and came up with that. And I just want to make sure you put that on a separate layer and keep things organized. So once the modifications are done to the model, let's talk about the package, the presentation package. I like to provide a range of information, so everything from hardline drawings, so we're going to have a PDF of the current elevations, the current floor plan. We're also going to include the model, and what I do is I take the SketchUp model, I upload it to Google Drive, and that way, as I record the screen grab, they can follow along with the model on their desktop or their tablet. So each one of the views here correlates with the scenes that you set up within SketchUp. So that's the second piece of information that we're going to include in the package. The third is the screen grab. Now I use Loom to do this. Loom is a free platform to use. It limits you to 720p if you don't have a pro membership. So if you have a pro membership, you can get the full HD version available. I haven't found that to be a limitation for me. The only recommendation I have would be to use an external microphone, and I use the ATR 2100. That's just an external USB mic. That way you're ensured your audio quality is as good as it possibly can be. But the process for recording the screen grab is literally you just hit start recording. Once you're logged into Loom, it'll give you a countdown on the screen, and then you begin doing your screen grab. And I use each one of the scenes that I have set up in the SketchUp model as a script. So I'm going to walk through all of the changes here, and I'll walk through the tabs in order, and that way they can follow along at home on their tablet or their desktop. Once I'm done recording that screen grab, I simply hit stop or hit the Loom button again. It uploads the video automatically to their platform. You can trim the front or the back if you've made any mistakes in there, but I don't want to do a lot of editing here. This is meant to be a real-time collaboration tool. You receive a link, copy that link, and then I share it out in the email that I send to them. One of the nice things about Loom is that it actually sends you a notification once your client has viewed the video. So you get a sense for, when they're receiving your emails and when they're looking at things. The other thing that's nice is if you have 3 or 4 different schemes, you can actually see the number of times that each one of those schemes has been viewed. So you can easily parse whether or not you have a popular scheme or one that's maybe not so popular. Loom saves you all the time of drafting long emails that may never get read. The last dimension of our presentation is painting a reality to the SketchUp model. This particular SketchUp model is very focused on textures and geometry and also our window layout. But the reality of an exterior elevation is that it also has a set of materials. The Keynote just provides another dimension of information and helps round out the entire presentation package. So Loom is great for presenting your ideas, but it's a one-way channel. There's no way to have any kind of dialogue. So for that, I'm using Skype. A lot of people prefer Zoom or Google Hangouts, up to you. One of the ways I use Skype is it's connected to Ecamm call recorder. So every time I initiate a Skype call recorder, automatically records the call in the background. Obviously, you want to tell your clients or whoever you're meeting with that you're recording the call and get their permission before doing so. But when you're writing meeting notes, it's nice to have that video as a reference. And also, if you're seeking clarification, sometimes a meeting can get confusing. You're trying to think of a design solution and your client is asking something of you and you may have missed some of the nuance of it. So I actually like it for that reason. I can also share my screen in the Skype and the client can share theirs as well. So I find that to be the most useful tool, and it's free. So one thing we haven't talked about is the exchange of information and how all that gets documented. It's easy, even in a small project like this, to be overwhelmed by the amount of information that is exchanging between your client and you. And you want to make sure you don't miss any of those important details of the project. So for that, I'm using a combination of Trello and Notion. I'm actually migrating to Notion now, but I'll show you Trello since that's an easy one to get started with. Notion is a little more complex. Trello is a free project management tool. There are other tools like Asana and Slack. I'm not a big fan of those. In Trello, I have each one of the design phases set up here. So all the way from pre-design to post-occupancy. And right now we're entering the construction documents phase, and each one of these has a list of cards. So you'll see each one of these cards here, I can move on and off of the board. And what I do when I send a package to the client and I receive feedback, I basically take that feedback as follow-up items and I put them on their own follow-up board. So that's what this board is here, and it travels along with me as I move through the different design phases. So as they assign a task to me, like we want to research the cedar finish on the exterior, I'm just going to create a card in Trello here. If you're working with a team, you can actually assign these cards to different team members so you can collaborate in real time. You can assign a due date or move the cards between boards. So let's say, this is an ongoing item and we haven't solved it, we can move it between whatever board we choose. When it's complete, you simply archive it. And so this is kind of how I use it. I don't assign it to other team members because I'm a team of one, and I don't really assign it due dates because I'm just treating this more like a to-do list. But this becomes the catch-all for the information and requests of the client, and to make sure that I haven't left anything out. Learning to work remotely definitely takes some adjustment, especially to do it efficiently. Try to stay connected to outside influences by reading, learning, exercising, and feeding your intellect a well-balanced diet of information both inside and outside of architecture. Be safe out there. I'm here to help. Do keep in touch in the comments, and keep those hands clean.